Great. Thank you very much, Aaron. I'm just going to share my screen. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
That's Succeed With Us. Okay, thanks very much for the introduction. It's great to be here today to talk to you guys about career opportunities at Allied Telesis Labs in Christchurch here. My name's Jeff, and I'm a software manager here at Allied, and I'm responsible for development of our web applications and our product GUIs. I'll start by giving you guys a brief overview of the global organisation and of course, at our development centre here in town. And then the rest of the team will cover off their respective areas. The team talking today includes managers of the 3 teams that are looking for recruiting graduates. That's myself as manager of the device GUI and web development. Mike, our manager of Allied Plus software development. That's another software team. And John, manager of our system test and release team. And of course, the people you all came to hear from, Arian, James, and Jordan, will also talk a little bit about their experience as recent graduates. A little bit about the business. Allied Telesis is a global company. We have R&D presence in New Zealand, United States, and Japan, as well as sales presence in most countries around the world. The centre in Christchurch is the largest development centre in the group and develops Allied Telesis embedded software called Allied Plus, which runs on the hardware products produced by the group, as well as the cloud-based network management system called Vista Manager. Mike and I will talk a little bit more about these later. We also test and release products regularly, and that's something John will cover off. In terms of basic stats on the company, basically we have product sales annually of around 230 million US dollars. We sell solutions to simplify network installation and management. And we have customers in a wide variety of sectors, including, as you see there, government, transport, education, medical, manufacturing, and security. Our largest development centre is the team in Christchurch here, and we design software here for switches and routers, and also we do some web development and, of course, all the testing infrastructure that goes with that. Christchurch has around 150 staff right now, and as I said, we're primarily focused on software as well as testing and release engineering. And we're always recruiting for software and test roles, by the way, so we'd always love to hear from you guys. Our team in Christchurch has everything really needed to create great products and a great customer experience. These include some of the other teams here other than software and test, including production engineering, product management, documentation, and customer support. The lab in Christchurch has 2 buildings. They're custom designed, and there's plenty of space here for the tools and tech required to develop high quality products and collaborate with the other centres in the group. And also for the high amount of teamwork and the social activities that we get into here, which are numerous. And just briefly, I just want to cover some of the great benefits we have. The team enjoys a number of great benefits, not just that we're an international business, but located in Christchurch. We also have a staff gym, a swimming pool, which is a fairly large 22-metre pool, which is great, spa pool, and a sauna. We have pool table, table tennis, a giant outdoor chess set, and we also have, I think, an informal, relaxed and social atmosphere in the building at all times. There is also an active social club that do things together at least once a month. They're going to movies, having dinner, barbecues, that kind of thing. And the company also sponsors, obviously, medical insurance for all the staff. Another thing we have is various types of special leave. And these are a little bit interesting. We have special leave. We include this birthday leave. I mean, who wants to work on their birthday, right? And we also have community service leave. And community service leave is kind of interesting. It enables you to sort of pick a community service or a community service sort of project of your choice, and you can take a day off for that a year. And in the past, we've had some of our teams here go out planting trees and that kind of thing and doing work for charity. Okay, that's my brief rundown on Telesis. So I'll now pass you on to Mike to cover the embedded software development.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. So my name's Mike. I'm the software manager here for the Alloy Plus side of development. So I myself was actually a Canterbury graduate a number of years ago. So I've found my place here at Telesis. I've been a number of different roles over the time I've been here. I started off in the software team and spent a bit of time overseas as well with customer support, and I've come back and eventually ended up as one of the managers here. So what we do here in the software team for the embedded side, so we're creating the software that's running on the devices that you can see there on the screen. So it's an embedded platform. It's running a Linux operating system. And the targets that we're looking at, that we create that software for are routers and switches. So the routers that we've got, they're primarily wired connection, so Ethernet connection based routers. But we've also just added 5G connectivity into one of those products as well just recently. And also we're working on switches. So the software is running on all of those switches you can see there. The big one at the back, that's what we call a chassis-based switch. And that has a number of different line cards that can be swapped and changed depending on the customer's required configuration. And we also create a number of what we call pizza box switches. So that's more about the size of the switch, the form factor. So they're about the size of a pizza box. And so those devices can also be joined together to create a virtual chassis. It operates in a similar way to the one at the back. It operates essentially as a single device, but it's virtualized. And that provides advantages for customers for ease of use and also for redundancy. So the embedded software that we're creating, we also actually build that in ways that allows us to use it as a virtual image as well. So we have our router software, we're using that as a virtual firewall. And also we create what we call an AMF controller. So that allows us to control the network, the elements of the network. So the switches and the routers and the network can join in using the AMF network, the underlying protocol there. And it allows customers to control their network in an easier, more accessible way. And so the virtual appliances, as I've listed there, we're running those on the various cloud infrastructure types of AWS and Azure, and also on Hyper-V and VMware. So one of the other big roles that we have here is supporting customers as well. So we're fortunate in the fact that we have another team that handles customer support based in the office here, and we work closely with them to help fix any issues that might come up for customers, and also any particular feature enhancements that are required to, I guess, add some extra value to what those customers are doing. So as far as the projects go that the team I'm part of works on, so one of the big ones we do, so we create and add support for new hardware platforms. So that we work quite closely with the hardware teams in the rest of the company. And so those hardware teams are based in San Jose in California. And we also have teams in Tokyo. So we're working quite closely with them to bring up new routers and switches. And there's a lot that's involved in getting a device running. So we receive the schematics and all those types of things and review them, and also have input into those. And we're responsible for essentially getting everything running on the software side and bringing up the hardware. So the interfaces that those devices are supporting, they spread from 10 megabits per second all the way up now to up to 400 gigabits per second. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, we're also doing wireless support. So both actually, so 5G support on the router, and we're also getting into adding Wi-Fi support to those platforms as well. And another one I just thought I'd mention is we also do power over Ethernet. That's used primarily to power access points, wireless access points, but it's also used to power a number of other types of devices such as cameras and other things, which is quite useful for network management. As far as other projects that we're doing, we've got a lot of projects related to device management. So network management, as I mentioned earlier, AMF. We also work and create APIs. So the APIs are used by the GUI, and the GUI, we work quite closely with the GUI team to ensure that we meet their requirements, and also to I guess, enhance what customers can use as part of the network. It helps a lot for monitoring and also provisioning and setting up networks. And of course, we're also doing a lot of work in the area of security. I've mentioned the whole, and you can see there, I've got, in terms of network protocols, we cover a lot. That's just a small list of those, and I won't go into any details of those at the moment, but we do cover a lot of different protocols, but there are many experts within the building. So as far as learning those, that's not a problem. It's all, a lot of the learning is all on the job. So there's lots of support when you're having to start looking at a new area. And one of the other ones, projects that we do, virtual appliances. So essentially creating new virtual targets to leverage the virtualization hosting that's available now. And I just thought I'd give a quick overview of the team itself in the embedded side. So we're creating the embedded and virtual appliances. So we've got 7 development teams. And each of those teams, they run Scrum. And within the teams, there's about 7 to 9 people. And we also have a security team. So that's comprised of developers and testers. As far as graduates, when they join, so they become one of the Scrum members. So they would join one of those 7 development teams. And in the past, we've had a number of different type of graduates. So we primarily have software engineering, electrical engineering, and computer science graduates. But we've also had a number of other ones. So we've had some from mechatronics as well. And as far as joining the team, there's a lot of, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of on-the-job training. But when the graduates are joining, they're participating and contributing pretty soon after they join the team. So they're supported pretty well. They're assigned essentially a go-to person, so a mentor, and that typically is someone, or that normally is someone within the team. But as far as asking for help, that's always available, and essentially anyone within the software group is available to ask questions of. So there's a lot of support. And as far as the tools go, so we're developing in C as their primary language. That's related to Linux, and we also use a lot of Python. So Python for testing, and also scripting. We do a lot of scripting for the build system and also testing as well. And as far as tools go, so we use Git for our code version control, and we're using Gerrit. So Gerrit is our code review tool. And a lot, it's quite powerful. Of course, code review is a really good learning tool, and that's what we use to manage that. And Jenkins for our build system, and Jira for our task and development management in terms of our projects. Okay, thank you. I'll pass over to Jeff.
Awesome, thank you, Mike. Okay, I'll come back now and just talk a little bit about the Vista Manager and device GUI development in the company here. So what do? Basically, we do a couple of products, the device GUIs for managing the hardware devices running Alloy Plus. These are probably the most straightforward products we develop in the GUI team, And you'd probably be familiar with something similar to this if you've ever configured your home router. So it's kind of the equivalent of that, but kind of on steroids for commercial high-grade networking equipment. The second class is Vista Manager. And this product is more complex. It allows the customer to manage and monitor the whole network by visualizing it, and it's kind of lowering the barrier of entry for staff that actually do that work in the real world. So in other words, they don't need to learn a CLI, they can just point and click. Overall, this reduces the kind of workload on the engineer and also on the network admin. In terms of a team structure here for the Vista side, we have 18 software engineers currently spread across 2 cross-functional teams. They run Scrum. These teams have everything they need to develop the products in a Scrum-based environment, obviously including product owner, Scrum Master, developers, and testers, which is all good. The teams are also self-managing, which is a key thing. They run Scrum and they have to be able to inspect and adapt their processes to meet the team's goals. So the self-management is a key part of that, and it allows them to continuously improve together as a team and provides an opportunity for professional and personal development for the staff in those teams. Collaborative opportunities. So as an international company, working with teams in other countries is very common for us. And we have development teams working on plugins for Vista in Tokyo, Japan, and there are opportunities to work with these guys on a day-to-day basis, but either with working with them on reviewing specifications or reviewing code, or even working on their product. So they're building the plugins for the product. It's a great experience and it's a lot of fun. Just a quick overview of Vista Manager. That's how it looks, just so you know. It's a fairly complex full stack web application. It displays local area network, wide area network, and wireless together, and provides real-time network performance and management information. It also has plugins to support other functionality. It's a pure software product with a subscription model. It's a little different to the standard licensing model we used to use on networking products in the past, but it does have huge potential for growth. It's simple, powerful, and it has the latest web technology and paradigms. And the reason for that is really our sophisticated users require that. It's got to have a modern look and feel. A little bit about web development. So obviously, I mentioned we're using Scrum. So the Scrum team consists of, as I said, team members, product owner, Scrum Master, and a lot of strong collaboration going on between them. And within the company, there's a lot of opportunities to develop in a number of different ways. For example, some people focusing on UX and UI, user experience. In the teams, we focus on what the user experience is and not the detail of how the tech works under the hood. By continuously doing this and refining and developing our understanding of requirements with the users throughout the process. From a software engineering point of view, we have the best and latest web technologies. For us, that means we're using the mean stack. For those of you that have heard of that, it's Mongo, Express, Angular, and Node.js. And we make use of tools like wireframes and demonstration videos to really keep our stakeholders in the loop. And as Mike mentioned, we use similar tools like Jira and Git, and we also use a tool called Figma for designing the wireframes. I just mentioned automated testing at the bottom there as well. That's very important to us. Tests are also written as part of the feature development, and developers run those tests as they deliver the code. So, upfront testing of the requirements is important for us. So, what's in it for you? I guess, as I said, best practice software development, using the latest tools and processes, and working in an environment where we can continually adapt and improve that. A team environment, collaborative teamwork. All the work is done as part of a team in Allied, and there's ample opportunities to work with other engineers, and that also means you get to share your skills and knowledge and piggyback off the skills and knowledge of other people in the team. Manage professional development. to ensure you continue to increase in value and contribution to the team, as well as being able to pursue areas of interest to yourself. Training forms a very important part of the culture of the company and of this team, and people are supported in their day-to-day roles with peer programming, support of the senior developers in coding, as well as training sessions which are applied as a team in the team environment. And there's also opportunities for formal training. So for example, our Scrum Masters are certified by scrum.org. And I've mentioned here just developing your hard and your soft skills. I mean, both of those are important. So we have social activities and leisure activities. The GUI teams, they tend to work and play together. And besides that, in the office, you're never short of a gym buddy if you want to go to the gym. And obviously, we've got the gym here to use too. And the last big perk is unlimited, good quality coffee. Anyway, that's an overview of the web development team. And I'll now pass you on to John to cover off the system test.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name's John Everingham. I've been at Allied Telesis for a long time now, 20 years or something. Really enjoyed it. And I'd like to sort of try and get you, I'll pass some of that enthusiasm on to you. Jeff, would you advance the slides? We are a world-class development facility. We are, as you've heard already, the biggest design centre in our group and actually the largest development centre in Christchurch. We've got lots of toys to play with. In our lab, you've sort of got a flavour of it down below. We've got bleeding edge sort of equipment. We have kind of a controlled setups, a little bit messy because we use them all the time. We have to make changes to our configurations, so we've got to move cables. We don't have things in static arrangement. We have access to these pieces of equipment that you use all the time while the project's being developed. So it's fun. Most of us like to think of it as play, but there is a sort of a serious side to it. We're trying to get software out to the customer that is good quality. We like to say we find the issues before the customer does. So, you know, in our play, we're looking at all different sorts of things and trying to find all those bugs and uncover them. The system test team is quite large, 34 engineers across 3 different teams and the disciplines. Now, a lot of them are embedded in the Scrum teams that you've already heard about. So there are 1 or 2 testers in each of those teams. So they work together with the software developers and work out their strategies for testing early on from the very beginning. So they're working all the way through the development in a typical Scrum strategy to make sure that by the end, everything is of sufficient quality to be released to the customer. So the top 2 there, the embedded feature development is the one that Mike's team, Mike has already explained, and the GUI development is the one that Jeff has explained. In addition to those, we've sort of got a number of other areas. So lots of sort of areas you can sort of progress into or get experience in. So we've got regression. We have continual deliveries of software to our main code streams, and we want to keep them in pretty good quality. So we do regression testing. We had like 30,000 tests run every 2 nights to try and uncover some of these issues that get introduced and try and get them fixed as soon as possible. We also run some simulation. We have setups like in the picture just above slide 18, the sort of 3rd one across, a customer scenario. It's like a real life customer scenario scaled down to a realistic size, but it attests the essential features and products that we can then sell to a particular customer. We can say, this we know works exceptionally well. If you get it, you're going to have very, very few problems. Of course, all our features and products should work together, but this is like the final sort of just little test security, if you like. And I saw the word security, and that made me say that, hey, also we're worried about the security of our product. So you've heard already that we have a team that's involved in that and work with our colleagues around the world to get our products certified and so on. The next area is wireless. You've heard that we have some wireless on our routers, but we also are testing wireless access points. They're developed actually overseas, but we're testing them in Japan and in New Zealand. So a really great area to get experience in. We also do hardware system verification, so trying to check out that the new hardware products not only work with the software, but the throughput under temperature extremes. So we've got heat chambers and so on. So it'll still work under all those conditions on under full load on the data paths. Sort of the second picture along from the left on the bottom is what we're calling highly accelerated lifetime testing. So you bolt this new piece of equipment to it and you pump liquid nitrogen and then you heat it up, so and then vibrate the whole thing very fast, great acceleration under software stress. So you're trying to simulate, quite a long time, 10 years of a product in a very short space of time, typically half an hour to an hour. Find the bits that fall off or whatever, and see if we can fix them, and then move on to the next thing that breaks, and keep going until we kind of reach a point where we can't do anything simply to fix it. And then there's qualification of new components, pluggables, and so on. We need to make sure that we keep up with the latest technologies. And just sort of to show you up in the top right-hand corner, the top one, test results trend. This is one of the regression tests we run on the GUI. You see, we had some problems, the twin peaks there. And for a while there, we couldn't figure out what was going on. We then did understand it, and you see we brought it back down to a manageable level, and we're now on the couple of fails that we're working through, getting them fixed. So I think just one more slide quickly, if I could, Jeff. Jeff, could you progress it?
I've just progressed it, John.
So sorry, just to line up the skills you might learn with those disciplines you saw and the education knowledge. So networking, you can sort of see networking is kind of key to what we do with features, and then the mechanical side is more focused around the bottom, hardware, system verification, lifetime acceleration, and qualifications. So anything to do with networking, software, mechatronics, and electrical are the sort of people that we're looking for. So I think that's all. That's me.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. And now I'd just like to invite the Arian, James, and Jordan to just have a little bit of a discussion about their experiences as graduates joining the company. So Arian, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Jeff. Hi, everyone. My name is Arian, and I recently graduated from UC last year as an electrical engineer, so pretty close to what you guys are right now, not too far detached. And I currently work as a graduate engineer at Allied Telesis, mainly in the embedded system stuff. So that's a little bit about me. Just going to be talking a little bit about what I do and why it's nice to work at Allied Telesis. So next slide, please, Jeff. So I thought the easiest way to tell you guys what I do would be to describe it in terms of the courses you guys have now. So these 4 courses kind of encompass what I do at work right now. I've split them into 2 categories. So you got your practical courses and you got your soft skill courses. Practical courses are more about the implementation. So that's like writing code, reading data sheets, reading schematics, all that kind of stuff. And for that, you'll need embedded systems 1 and 2. So that's 361, 461. That way it teaches you how to write C code, which is pretty important for what we do here. And more importantly, you've got your soft skills. So being an engineer, you have to be able to communicate your ideas. You got to be able to solve problems. You got to be able to scope out problems, come up with like a list of solutions, and then justify why your solution is the best. And that's what these kind of courses teach you, engineering design and management. They teach you how to go from, problem to implementation, and then your practical courses carry you throughout the rest. So it's pretty important to learn those skills as well, because there's lots of communication that goes on between, us, customer groups, customer service groups, other engineers, different levels of the business. So it's really important to be able to communicate your ideas. So those 4 courses kind of encompass what I do daily at Allied Telesis. Next slide, please. So the transition from being a graduate to working is, quite big. And some things that really smooth it over here at Allied are the few benefits we have here. So some of the things that I really liked when I started working was the choice and flexibility we have here. So that's just not what you work on, but also when you choose to work. There's also flexibility in terms of timing here. So you can really come and go as you please and work however many hours you want on a particular day, as long as you do 40 for the week. So I sometimes do really long days and then do some really short days later in the week. You can take longer lunches, as long as you do your 8 hours or your 40 hours per week. There's lots of flexibility in that sense. And there's also lots of flexibility in what you choose to work on. You can choose to pick up certain tasks, things you're interested in, certain directions you want to take in terms of your career. So there's lots of flexibility in that sense as well. Like Mike said, there's like 7 different software teams looking at different types of different parts of our code. So there's always a good opportunity to be, where you want to be. Applying skills, I've kind of already talked about that. So it's just really in the sense of working here will let you is a bit familiar initially. You still use skills you learned at uni. It's not all just checking into the deep end with like no map. So it's applying skills you kind of already have as well. But there are many things that you might not know about as well. So for example, I graduated as an electrical engineer, so I have no idea about networking and all that stuff, like zero idea when I started here. But thankfully there's lots of support, lots of senior support around to help me, learn all the networking protocols and all the different types of things that are involved in the company's code. And that's really nice to have as a graduate, because that really eases you into, working at a company. So lots of good senior support. And as the other guys have kind of already talked about as well, pretty good recreation options here. You got the gym, you got the pool table. Social club's really nice as well. We do a little bit less now because of COVID, but I'm sure they'll get back into swing soon. So yeah, just a few things there to ease your transition into working, and things you'll be looking forward to if you choose to work for Telesis. So that's sort of the embedded systems side of the business. I'll pass it off to James now.
Thank you. Hi, so I'm James. I've been working at, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah, I've been working at Telesis for about 3 years now. I'm a web developer and Scrum Master here rather. And yeah, so I've just got to explain sort of my pathway, how I got to that point. Because I've been here a little bit longer than the other 2 people that'll be talking. So yeah, my background is that I used to work in labs. So I studied biochemistry initially and just minored in computer science. And then I eventually decided to kind of seriously commit to computer science about 4 years ago. So I did like a dip grad. It's called something different everywhere else. It's basically like a year of study. Anyway, so after that, I was in the position of moving back to Christchurch and looking for work. And to be honest, I was a little intimidated by the tech industry because it's a big change for me. And a little opaque from the outside, and felt like I was maybe like a bit of an imposter. But joining Telesis sort of dispelled that for me a little bit. Oh, actually, fully, because basically, like once I got there, found it to be like a very like open, honest environment where basically everyone's sort of in the same boat. We're all sort of people trying to learn, trying to improve ourselves, trying to improve the product. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of it, that you're sort of embedded in a team, and it's not like you're just given tasks and then sent away and you're on your own. Like it's always it's all about collaboration. And yeah, because of my interest in that, I expressed interest in Scrum as well, and I actually got sent on some training Scrum, which is really good. I did the PSM1 and PSM2, which are scrum.org qualifications, and I sort of got those through like a online course where basically I did some training on Zoom with some other people from other companies that were Scrum Masters, and then sat an exam essentially. So me and a few other people were able to get their qualifications that way, and of course Telesis paid for it, so that's nice. Yeah, so let me just have a look at my notes here to make sure I haven't got anything. Yeah, so like ultimately the point is, yeah, I found it to be quite a teamwork oriented and collaborative environment, and also a nurturing environment. There was some other training that we've received on the job as well, which is some training around clean coding, which is a sort of, it's worth looking up if you haven't heard of it. Yeah, I did a little bit of UX training as well. Yeah, and we've been mentioning like the social aspects as well. I'll just list some specific ones that meant a lot to me, which were me and some others. Like we have like a regular like session where we do like this, like we've watched the same YouTube video like maybe 5,000 times, because we 2 times a week we'd watch the video and then do this workout together. So we had a pretty strong team doing that every 2 days a week. I kind of miss that actually, because I'm working from home at the moment. And yeah, like Christmas party karaoke is always a hit. So yeah, enjoy my time here. So yeah, so if you want like a laid back environment where you can also grow, so yeah, it's a good choice. But yeah, I'll leave it at that and hand it over to Jordan.
Afternoon, guys. My name's Jordan, and currently I'm working as a test engineer at Allied Telesis. But like you guys, I'm also actually enrolled in UC as well. I've only been with the company for a few months now, and already it's opened my eyes to what a degree in computer science and engineering can really do. When I started this job, I didn't really know what to expect from the role. However, I went in with open eyes and a keen interest in the field. And initially, I was just blown away by the scale of the company. And when I found out it was in Christchurch and not 10 minutes away from where I've been studying the past few years, I really thought it's probably a pretty good choice. But as my time progressed with the company, I found that whether it's working with embedded systems, front-end development, automation, or working with hardware, Allied Telesis really does do it all. And the sheer scale of the company and its endeavors means that our employees gain exposure to knowledge in a wide range of areas, like inside and outside of their roles. In my case, I mainly work on automated testing. However, I also get to use networking hardware every day alongside a suite of other tools and software. Because of that exposure outside the testing domain, not only am I improving as an end-to-end tester, but I'm also learning skills that can be transferred to other projects and help sort of bridge the gap into future roles. I believe that Allied Telesis is setting me up with the skills I need to become more proficient within my industry and sort of pushing me forward in my career. Alongside this, Allied Telesis comes with a number of benefits, which I think you guys have heard quite a lot about. But the main one that I like is probably the flexibility around choosing your hours and sort of as long as you get your 40 hours in, they're pretty good with you. There's also just a massive range of graduate roles available at Allied Telesis. Whether you're an engineer, mathematician, or computer scientist, I think it's definitely something to consider in all regards. Anyway, I'll pass you back on to Jeff. I think he's gonna.
Thank you, Jordan. And thank you, Arian, James, and Jordan for that. I appreciate it. Okay. I just wanted to add the how to apply slide for those of you that are interested. So we're recruiting now for graduate software and test engineers. And also we have internships over the summer too, for people that maybe aren't finishing this year. Check out our career page. So I've got a link there to the career page. Yeah, please check it out and apply. We'll be keen to hear from you, especially if you're interested in a challenging and rewarding career in software development or testing. So yeah, thank you for your time today. And I think that is our presentation. So if there's any questions, we'd be really happy for you guys to pop your mic open and speak to us, or you could even write something in the chat and we could answer it. I'll stop the screen share. So I've got one question here from Ryan, is it? It's Arian, you touched on the work-life balance when moving from a grad to full-time. Can you tell us a bit more about the work you did at the beginning of your full-time work?
Yeah, so at the beginning, it's like a sort of introductory. So it's really trying to ease you into the code base. So depending on where you are in the companies, like for example, for me being embedded systems, it's really important to know the different layers in the code base. There's lots of different layers between interacting from, literally where the GUI team is and to where the hardware is. So just doing simple, we call them change requests or bug fixes. So initially you get given 1 or 2 simple bug requests and you're told, oh, there's a problem with this output. Just go into the code base, look around, see if you can find, where it's happening, how it's happening, and learn just how we write our code, really. So it's a real soft entrance. Just learning about the code base really is the first work introduction you get in terms of working here. Cool.
Hopefully that answers your question there, Ryan. Are there any other questions? We're happy to answer.
I might jump in and ask you guys a question if you don't mind. You obviously touched on with your hours, how you can pick and choose your hours as long as it makes up to 40. Say if you accidentally work over because due to you're busy, and you obviously can't finish early that week, how does your rollover work there? Is it overtime, or do you just instead take it off on the following week?
I think generally we're pretty flexible on time. We really kind of expect people to manage their own time. If people are doing that, work a little bit less time the next week or whatever. So I guess that's the best way to describe it. Is we're kind of a bit grown up on the time thing. We just we expect everyone here is grown up. They can manage their own time. So it really is literally like we don't count the 40 hours in a week, but we over a month we look for a pattern. We expect people to just be putting the time in that we expect them to do.
Yeah, I can sort of talk about that from the like developer side and the Scrum side, because there are the one restriction to that flexibility thing is we do have meetings that are compulsory, right? So they'll tend to be between the hours of 9:30 and usually we try to avoid anything after 4. So there's a period in the middle of the day where it's good to have people there, and so that's the one restriction on it, I suppose.
Yeah, we kind of call that core hours, I guess, and I guess the key point with Scrum as well is it's about respect for your team. So when the team, you want to be there when the team's having meetings, but outside that, you're managing your time.
Okay, it self-manages because if someone's always away for every meeting, you'll notice and you'll just say, hey, how do you think this is affecting your team? Maybe it's not a positive thing for you to always miss these meetings. So there's sort of there's a way of managing that without being authoritative. Yeah, and find that works for us.
Did that answer your question, Aaron?
Yeah, it's true. We have real similar things. So I just thought to see how you guys are. You got someone else chucked another question in that chat for you.
Oh yes, I see. It's from Haley. Thanks so much for the presentation. I was wondering what the different stages of your interview process for grads roles is. Do you want to take that one, Mike, or should I?
Sure, I can touch on that for the embedded side, because I think each graduate role can potentially be a little bit different. So for the embedded side, we typically would have an initial interview, and then depending on whether that's being gauged as positive, if it is, then we'll go into a second interview, and at that point we also I guess comparing and figuring out if the candidate is a good fit, and based on the positions that we have available and also the other applicants. But typically we use a 2-interview process and go from there.
Yeah, I could just update from the GUI side there too, because the GUI side is, we do quite a lot of collaborative work together. Sometimes we'll just have a 1 interview process with a little bit of just a coding session where we do a bit of pairing, and so we'll get you in and do a little bit of coding with you. But it's pretty flexible.
Could I say about test?
Yep.
We actually have 2 interviews, but actually the first one's a pre-interview. So we're not looking there to grill you. We're trying to tell you about the actual role, and we also tell you a couple of the technical questions we're going to ask you in the interview, because what we find is that you studied some of these things. For example, we might ask you some networking questions, and you haven't looked at that for 2 years, and you go, yeah, I studied that, but I can't remember what the heck it was. So we're kind of You know, we're not trying to trip you up or anything. We want to see if you can just go back and revise that and come back and give us a really good answer and show that you understand what's going on in the second interview. So it's a 2-interview, but really only the second one is the one where we're trying to test your knowledge in depth.
Thanks, John and Mike.
That's me.
Hopefully that answers your question, Hayley. Cool. Yep, I see that. Okay, do we have any more questions?
One of the questions that we've had from a lot of students that are to companies, one thing I will quickly ask you guys is, what are some standout things you're looking for when people are looking to apply for either the intern roles or grad roles on CVs wise?
Yeah, from the software side, obviously for the GUI, you know, any kind of experience with frameworks, really. You know, from a technical side, obviously we're using, like I mentioned, the main stack, but any kind of stack experience and how that works. This main technical thing we're looking for, and obviously that's the CV side. When we get them in the building, really just being articulate, being easy to talk to, those sorts of things. What about you, Mike? Anything there, John?
Yeah, so from my point of view, we work in a team, so we're often looking for some evidence of team-based learning. In terms of particular courses, I mean, embedded development is an advantage, but it's not a mandatory thing. So we've got a lot of, software engineering, of course, is quite a general degree, and that quite suits the way that we work, because we're although it's embedded, it's not really the only focus. We're working all the way from right down at the hardware, all the way up to the I guess API / and almost getting into the GUI side. So it's quite a wide range. But yeah, certainly teamwork is one of the things that we're focusing on, and making sure that people can fit into working as a team. And
from testing side, we hope to get some networking knowledge. That's why we give you the questions ahead of time, and also a sort of an understanding or to be able to demonstrate working in teams, solving issues, sort of, but in a systematic and kind of attention to detail sort of way, because if you see something once, you don't just forget about it. It's got to be, oh, saw that. What caused that? How can I try and make that happen again? So that's sort of an attitude, and be able to convince us that you'll be able to investigate those issues and not let them go. So.
Okay, thank you. I've got one more question here. What's your diversity like within your teams? I think I'll speak to that one. I know from my teams tend to be quite diverse, and that's deliberate. We find that diversity when you're developing a kind of a product like a GUI, lots of different opinions and lots of different ideas are quite important. So we have a mix of males and females. We have mixes of different cultures. There's people from like we've got, like I said, 18 people. There might be 14 different cultures in there. So like I say, diversity is something we really value, because it really helps in some of those soft skills. The soft decisions and the team meetings. You really want to get away from the situation where you have everyone in the room with the same background and the same experience, so the same opinion. So diversity is something we value quite highly here. Hope that answers your question.
You shouldn't have picked me, Jeff, to do this talk. Not showing the true diversity of the company.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Are there any other questions? Oh. Now, Rui, We have another question here. Could you please talk about the graduate software engineer role, please? Like, will there be any rotation?
Yeah, sure. So the graduates that do join the team, we've actually had a number of people that have joined a particular team, and then since over the time that they're working here, they either have an interest in another area, so they'll shift. And we have had some shifts from the embedded side even up to the GUI team. So that certainly does happen. We've also had even shifts between the GUI, from the embedded side over to test, and also the other way around as well. So that typically that would happen on a request basis. But as far as people joining the software team, I think with any team actually, in terms of experience, there's quite a wide range of experience, even if you're within the same team, because your code base is so diverse. So you are exposed to a number of different areas, and a lot of it is driven by the person themselves. So if there's a particular area of the code that you're interested in, you can somewhat gravitate a little bit to those particular projects. Even within a project, there are those opportunities.
Agreed.
Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you.
Cool. Good. Some good questions coming in through there in the end.
Yeah, excellent.
Cool. Thank you very much. I will stop this recording.